Imagine trying to picture a sunset, but all you see is darkness. Welcome to the world of aphantasia. Aphantasia, a term that may seem foreign to many, is a condition characterized by an absence or lack of visual imagery. This is not about the inability to understand or acknowledge the concept of visual imagery. Rather, it's about the absence of it. Think about it this way. When someone says apple, most of us have an image that pops into our mind, right? But for those with aphantasia, this mental image doesn't materialize. They understand what an apple is, they know its shape, its color, its taste, but they can't visualize it. This condition is a neurodevelopmental trait, meaning it's related to the growth and development of the nervous system. It can be congenital, something that a person is born with and persists throughout their life. Now, it's important to note that the difficulty here lies in generating voluntary mental images. Individuals with aphantasia may experience dim or vague visual mental imagery, but they struggle to create these images at will. It's like trying to draw in the air with a pen that's run out of ink. You know what you want to draw, you're making the right movements, but nothing appears. Recent research suggests that aphantasia is more about the absence of visual imagery rather than a lack of metacognitive awareness of internal visual imagery. This means that individuals with aphantasia are not unaware of their internal visual processes. They understand the concept of visual imagery, but they simply don't experience it. In essence, aphantasia is like living in a world where the mind's eye is blind. But this doesn't mean that individuals with aphantasia lack imagination or creativity. They just experience these in different ways that don't rely on visual imagery. So, aphantasia isn't about the lack of awareness of visual imagery, but rather the absence of it. As we delve deeper into this fascinating topic in the next scenes, we'll explore how this unique condition influences cognitive abilities, occupational preferences, and how it interplays with other cognitive processes. Do you know that aphantasia might have an influence on your career preferences? If you're scratching your head, wondering how a lack of visual imagery could possibly impact your job choice, well, you're in for a surprise. Research suggests that aphantasia is indeed associated with certain cognitive profiles and occupational preferences. How so, you may ask? Well, let's delve into that. Data gathered from questionnaires completed by individuals with aphantasia indicate a strong correlation with scientific and mathematical occupations. Imagine a mathematician solving complex problems without the need for visual imagery, or a scientist relying solely on concrete facts and data rather than visual representations. Intriguing, isn't it? Now let's consider the opposite end of the spectrum. Hyperphantasia, which is characterized by vivid visual imagery, is associated with professions considered creative. Picture a painter, their mind teeming with vibrant images just waiting to be brought to life on canvas, or a writer, weaving intricate stories from the vivid characters and scenes playing out in their mind's eye. The contrast is quite stark, wouldn't you agree? This suggests that the presence or absence of visual imagery could be a significant factor influencing our cognitive abilities and occupational preferences. It's an intriguing concept that the way we visualize or don't can play such a crucial role in our career choices. But remember, this does not mean that if you have aphantasia, you're destined to be a mathematician or a scientist, or if you have hyperphantasia, you're bound to be an artist or a writer. These are just trends observed in studies, not set-in-stone rules. We are all unique with a myriad of factors shaping our preferences and abilities. However, it's fascinating to consider how something as seemingly abstract as our ability to generate mental images can have such concrete implications in our lives. It seems the presence or absence of visual imagery may indeed influence our cognitive abilities and career choices. Beyond career choices, aphantasia impacts other cognitive processes too. It offers a fresh perspective for understanding the functional role of mental imagery in visual cognition. This condition, defined by the absence of visual imagery, presents an opportunity to delve deeper into our understanding of visual cognition. When we consider the mind's eye, it's not just about what we can see, but how we process and interpret these images. Interestingly, individuals with aphantasia have been found to exhibit impaired visual working memory performance. Visual working memory is critical for tasks like navigation and recognizing objects or faces. So, for someone with aphantasia, these tasks may prove to be more challenging. But it's important to note that these deficits are generally mild. It's not that they can't do these tasks, but they might approach them differently. Now, aphantasia doesn't just stop at visual imagery. It's also been associated with a general imagery deficit across multiple senses. This condition is known as dyskinesia, so it's not just visual images that are absent or vague, but mental images from other senses too. Imagine not being able to conjure up the smell of fresh coffee or the feel of a soft blanket. It's a different way of experiencing the world, to say the least. In the grand scheme of things, aphantasia illuminates the vast spectrum of human cognitive abilities. It underscores the fact that our brains work in unique ways, shaping how we perceive and interact with the world around us. The absence of visual imagery in some individuals highlights the importance and influence of mental imagery in our cognitive processes. So, what does this all mean? It means that aphantasia, beyond influencing career choices, plays a significant role in other cognitive processes. It affects how we remember, perceive, and even sense the world around us. Aphantasia, it appears, has a broader influence on our cognitive processes than we might have initially thought. Despite its impact, aphantasia is not widely recognized or understood. It's a condition that's often congenital, present right from birth, and its prevalence in the general population is a subject of ongoing research. When it comes to diagnosis, tools like the Vividness of Visual Imagery questionnaire have proven useful. Some individuals may also self-identify, recognizing in themselves the symptoms and experiences characteristic of aphantasia. In clinical settings, understanding aphantasia can be quite valuable. It provides insights into how different people perceive and process the world around them. However, it's important to note that there's no clear evidence linking aphantasia to prosopagnosia, a condition that makes it difficult for people to recognize faces. So, while aphantasia may influence how a person thinks and interacts with their environment, it doesn't necessarily correlate with other cognitive conditions. With increased awareness and understanding, we can better support those living with this condition. Aphantasia, a fascinating condition that reveals the diverse ways in which our brains function. To recap, we've discussed its characteristics, cognitive profiles, interplay with other cognitive processes, prevalence, and diagnosis. If you found this video informative and want to learn more about such intriguing topics, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, keep exploring the wonders of the mind.